Your grandfather worked 2 dreadful jobs he hated for 30 years, yet he never missed a beat. He'd break his hand at work, wrap it himself, finish his shift, and won't see a doctor until the weekend. And then show up the next morning like nothing happened. He raised troublesome kids on meager income and never once asked for sympathy. He watched both society and the world around him crumble slowly, yet he still showed up to everything that mattered without falling apart in public. He didn't call it sacrifice, he just called it a Tuesday. And now we have young men who are crashing out and spiraling over one rude email. What on earth made us this weak? Somewhere between that generation and yours, we stopped teaching men how to be unflinching, how to take a hit, verbal, emotional, professional, physical, and keep moving like it was nothing. We replaced that with self-care and safe space and 1,000 other terms that basically mean run away from discomfort and call it wisdom. And now, you're anxious. All the time. Not because your life is harder than your grandfather's, but because you've been trained to expect comfort and life keeps delivering chaos. Marcus Aurelius lived in a world where half of Rome died from plague while he was trying to hold an empire together. His own son, the child he raised, turned into one of history's most deranged tyrants. His closest advisors betrayed him. His body was failing. War was constant. And in the middle of all that, he sat down and wrote himself reminders about how none of it could break him unless he let it. He didn't have a therapist. He didn't have a support group. He didn't have the option to take a mental health day. He built something inside himself that most modern men don't even know is possible. A monster, not the kind that hurts people, the kind that cannot be hurt by circumstances. If you're watching from the United States or anywhere else on planet Earth, let me know the name of your city in the comments right now. I want to see where this wisdom met you tonight, because what's coming will separate those who are ready to evolve from those who'll keep lying to themselves until their deathbed. Also, if you are mentally prepared to awaken that monster within you, smash that like button. Not for me. For the algorithm gods, so more men stumbling through the darkness can find this. Because I'm about to show you 7 ruthless truths Marcus Aurelius understood about mental toughness that most modern Stoics are too soft to discuss. Fair warning, one of these points will probably make you think I've lost my mind. Exactly. That's how you'll know it's the one you need most. Here's the first thing you need to lock in about mental toughness. It's not built through affirmations in the mirror or reading quotes on Instagram at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep because your life felt empty and lied to you that it was insomnia. Mental toughness is forged when you stop trying to be liked and start becoming irrelevant to other people's opinions. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself every single morning, "Today I will meet interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." Not as a pessimist, as a realist who refused to be shocked by reality. Most men walk around expecting the world to treat them fairly. Then they spend 30 years bitter and confused when it doesn't. Marcus knew better. He understood that expecting people to be rational, kind, or fair is like expecting a scorpion not to sting you because you've been nice to it. So he prepared his mind daily, not with hope, no, but with acceptance of what is. This is the first ruthless truth. You will never be mentally tough if you keep demanding reality be different than it is. You want to become a monster? Stop arguing with the scorpion. Expect the sting. Move accordingly. Most of you won't do this. You'll keep being surprised when people disappoint you, when plans fall apart, when life punches you in the throat on a Tuesday morning for no reason, and you'll stay soft. I want you to type your age in the comments. Come on, do it. You're among friends. When you do it, I want you to look at that number and imagine an ancestor of yours at that age 200 years ago. How would he have reacted to reality? Now let us begin. Truth 1. You're addicted to being the victim. When someone asks how you're doing, what do you lead with? Your wins, your progress, or do you instinctively go to what's wrong, what's hard, what's unfair? That job you hate. You've complained about it for 2 years but haven't sent out a single resume. That relationship that's draining you. You vent about it constantly but won't end it. That body you're unhappy with. You talk about wanting to change it more than you actually work to change it. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that suffering gets you attention. And attention feels like love when you don't know the difference. Marcus Aurelius watched half his children die. Plague decimated Rome. His body was falling apart from chronic illness. Generals betrayed him. His empire was collapsing. And you know what he didn't do? He didn't make it his identity. He didn't walk around Rome telling everyone how hard his life was. He didn't use his suffering as currency for sympathy. He didn't bond with people over shared misery. But here's the uncomfortable truth most men will reject immediately. You don't actually want to solve most of your problems. You want to be seen struggling with them. Because if you solved them, what would you talk about? What would make you relatable? What would excuse your lack of progress? Your struggle has become your brand. Your trauma is your conversation starter. Your hardship is your shield against having to actually risk anything. Let me give you the test that separates the real from the fake. If someone handed you the exact solution to your biggest problem right now, no cost, guaranteed to work, would you take it? Or would you find a reason why it won't work for you specifically? Be honest, because most of you would find the reason, not consciously. But your identity is so wrapped up in being the underdog, the one who has it harder, the one dealing with unique circumstances. The Stoics had a phrase for this: self-inflicted suffering. Here you are, with every advantage, every opportunity, every resource, and you're still finding ways to make yourself the victim of your own story. Marcus understood something most modern men are too comfortable to accept. Suffering is inevitable. But staying stuck in it? That's a choice. And the longer you stay there, the more your identity calcifies around it. Until one day you realize you've built your entire personality around what you've survived instead of what you've become. Here's the sarcasm you earned. You're not mentally tough because you've been through hard things. Everyone's been through hard things. You're only tough if you went through them and came out stronger instead of coming out with better stories to tell at parties. There's a point coming that will force you to confront something about yourself you've been avoiding for years. Most won't make it there. Let's see how resolute you are. Truth 2. Your emotions are not orders. Epictetus, who was a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, understood something most free men today don't. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to obey it. Do you feel angry? Good. Sit with it. Watch it. Don't act on it like a child who hasn't developed impulse control. Do you feel anxious? Noted. Observe it like a scientist studying a passing cloud. Don't let it dictate your decisions. You feel like giving up? Fascinating. Now do the thing anyway. Marcus Aurelius used to write, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But here's where most people misunderstand Stoicism completely. They think it means suppressing emotions. It doesn't. It means not being a puppet to them. Your emotions are information, sometimes useful, often not. But they're not commands. You don't have to rage quit your job because you had a bad day. You don't have to text your ex because you're lonely at night. You don't have to spiral into despair because something didn't go your way. You get to choose what you do with what you feel. That's power most men never develop. They're blown around by every emotional breeze like dead leaves. One moment motivated, next moment defeated. One day confident, next day crushed. They're not living. They're reacting, racing through life like a headless chicken. Marcus ruled an empire while dealing with chronic pain, family betrayal, and constant war. You think he felt great every day. You think he felt like it. He did it anyway, because he understood that waiting to feel ready is how you stay weak forever. If you are sensing the wisdom in this, Smash that like button so your algorithm knows this isn't another fluffy motivation video. This is the real work. Truth 3. Live with your end in mind. Let's get dark for a second. You, reading this right now, you're going to die. Not someday in some abstract distant future. Relatively soon. Maybe in 30 years' time. Maybe in 30 minutes' time. Who knows? Marcus Aurelius was obsessed with death. He meditated on it constantly, not because he was depressed, because remembering death was his secret weapon against wasting time on nonsense. Most men avoid thinking about death. They push it away, distract themselves, fill every moment with noise and screens and substances so they never have to face the only guaranteed truth of their existence. Then they wake up at 45, overweight, in a job they hate, in a marriage that died years ago, and they wonder where their life went. Here's the ruthless truth. If you're not living like you're going to die, you're not really living. You're just killing time until time kills you. Memento mori. Remember death, not to be morbid, to be awake. When you remember you're going to die, suddenly the argument with your brother seems stupid. The grudge you've held for 3 years feels pointless. The fear of trying something new becomes laughable. The opinion of someone you don't even respect? Irrelevant. You stop playing small. You stop waiting for permission. You stop wasting energy on people and things that don't matter, because the clock is ticking. Right now, as you watch this, your life is being spent. The question is, on what? Wait till you hear what's coming next. Most men will reject it immediately because it destroys their favorite excuse. Truth 4. Your reputation is a cage you built for yourself. You know what's hilarious? The average man spends half of his life building a reputation, then spends the other half imprisoned by it. You can't quit that job because what would people think? You can't change careers because you've told everyone you're this type of person. You can't admit you were wrong because you've spent years being the guy who's always right. You can't show weakness because your whole identity is built on being strong. You're not living your life. You're maintaining a character you created years ago, and now you're stuck playing the role. Marcus Aurelius was literally worshipped as a god-emperor. Statues, temples, millions of people bowed to him, and he still wrote reminders to himself that none of it was real. That tomorrow they could hate him just as easily. That public opinion is dust and ashes. He understood what most men never figure out. The moment you start making decisions based on protecting your image, you've already lost. Here's the test. What would you do differently if nobody was watching? If nobody would ever know? If your reputation wouldn't take a hit? That's who you actually want to be? Everything else? That's the performance you're trapped in. The brutal truth? Most men will die having never lived as themselves. They'll play the role until the curtain closes. Safe, approved, admired, and completely empty. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." But here's the part he didn't say out loud. Most of that imaginary suffering is worrying about what people think of you who don't even think about you. Your reputation isn't your prison, your fear of losing it is. And if you want to become that monster, you need to mentally detach yourself from it. Because that is not the real you. Comment, I detach now. Your life is changing, and this next truth will make you laugh hard at what you call challenges. Truth 5. Most of your problems are imaginary. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Let that sink in while I roast you for a second. You're stressed about a conversation that hasn't happened yet. You're anxious about a future that doesn't exist. You're replaying an argument from 3 weeks ago that the other person forgot about in 3 hours. You're worried about what people think of you, people who barely think about you at all because they're too busy worrying about what you think of them. Your mind is a chaos factory. It takes a neutral situation and turns it into a catastrophe. It takes a simple task and makes it a mountain. It takes silence and fills it with paranoia. Here's the ruthless truth. 90% of what you're suffering from right now is a story you're telling yourself, not reality. The Stoics called this adding to your suffering. You've got the actual problem. Let's say it's a difficult situation at work. That's the real problem. But then your mind adds 17 layers of interpretation, worry, catastrophizing and fear, and suddenly you're not dealing with one problem, you're dealing with 20 imaginary ones. Marcus understood this. That's why he constantly reminded himself to see things as they are, not as his mind wanted to dramatize them. Someone disrespected him? That's just information, not a crisis, not an attack on his identity, just data. A battle was lost? Okay. What's the next move? No time for self-pity. Half his children died? Unbearable grief, yes, but adding, why me? And this shouldn't have happened, and the gods are cruel on top of that grief. That's optional suffering. You want to become mentally tough and maintain monster mode. Stop believing every thought your brain produces. Most of them are garbage. Anxiety-driven fiction your mind creates because it thinks worrying is the same as preparing. It's not. Hit that subscribe button if you want more of these uncomfortable truths that actually change lives rather than misdirect your dopamine. The next one is where men silently destroy themselves because society has reprogrammed them to behave that way. Truth 6. Your opinion of yourself matters more than anyone else's. Do you outsource your self-worth? Do you need recognition to feel valuable? Do you need the girl to like you before you feel attractive? They need social media validation to feel relevant. They need their father's approval to feel like a man. Marcus Aurelius had the entire Roman Senate, the army, the people, all watching him, judging him, expecting things from him, and he still wrote, I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. Go back and read that again. You claim you value yourself, but you'll let a stranger's comment ruin your day. You'll let someone's rejection define your worth. You'll change who you are to fit in with people you don't even respect. That's not self-love. That's self-betrayal. The most ruthless form of mental toughness is this: deciding that your integrity, your standards, your opinion of yourself matters more than being liked, accepted, or praised. When you live this way, you become untouchable. Not because nothing bothers you, but because external validation stops being your fuel. You do the right thing because it's right, not because someone's watching. You pursue your goals because they matter to you, not because they'll impress people. You maintain your character because you have to live with yourself every single day, and that relationship is non-negotiable. Epictetus was a crippled slave who became more free than most kings. You know why? Because he understood that true freedom is caring more about who you are in the dark than who people think you are in the light. This 7th point is where you unveil the true monster mode. Truth 7. Stop being kind. Here's the final truth, and it's the one most nice guys will hate. Your value is not determined by how much you sacrifice yourself for others. I know. You've been told your whole life that being selfless is noble, that putting others first is virtuous, that neglecting yourself to serve everyone else makes you a good person. Nonsense. Marcus Aurelius understood something most modern men don't. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and a weak man serves no one. If you're broke, exhausted, mentally unstable, physically deteriorating, and running on fumes, your service to others is just you being a burden with extra steps. The Stoics practiced self-mastery first, not because they were selfish, but because you cannot help anyone if you haven't helped yourself first. Think about it. If you're drowning, you're not saving anyone. You're creating another person who needs to be saved. So here's what Marcus would tell you. Build yourself first. Make yourself competent, strong, skilled, financially stable, mentally disciplined, emotionally regulated. Then, from that position of strength, You can actually contribute something valuable to the world instead of just being another man with good intentions and no capacity. This isn't permission to be a selfish jerk. It's a reminder that self-respect and self-development aren't optional. They're prerequisites for being useful to anyone, including yourself. So, here's where we stand. You came here probably expecting another motivational speech about finding your inner warrior or some mystical nonsense about aligning your chakras with the universe. Instead, you got the truth. Mental toughness isn't a feeling. It's not something you achieve by watching videos or reading quotes. It's a daily practice of doing hard things, accepting reality, and refusing to be controlled by comfort, emotions, or other people's opinions. That's the work. Not sexy, not easy, not Instagram-worthy, but real. Stop searching for shortcuts. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop needing everything to feel right before you act. Start now, where you are, with what you have. Expect difficulty. Embrace discomfort. Question your thoughts. Remember you're going to die. Take responsibility. Stop adding imaginary suffering. Value your own opinion. Build yourself first. Do this, and you won't just survive life's chaos. You'll become the kind of man chaos can't touch. If these lessons lit a fire in you, smash that like button and subscribe, because the next man scrolling his feed at 2 a.m. is looking for something real. Help him find this instead of another fluffy reel that makes him feel good for 10 minutes and changes nothing. Comment the one truth you are ready to start applying immediately.